The Rabat Diamond League is sometimes one of the more overlooked diamond leagues on the circuit, considering it doesn't get, as many top names relative to some of the other meets like a London or a Zurich, but it actually is going to be producing and showcasing some of the top talent in the world in 2025. So I want to take a look at some of the names and some of the events that will be, again, showcasing some of these top athletes who are going to kind of either be, continue on their 2025 seasons, or some athletes who are actually opening up their 2025 outdoor seasons. Now, the headliner, at least in my opinion, from this meet is going to be Shericka Jackson, who's not going to be running the 200. We've already seen her do that, but she's going to be racing the 100 meters here. And she won't have as high quality of a field, but she will be kind of, looking at this potentially as a test, at least in my eyes, because of some comments that she's made previously. So let's take a look at this 100 meter field at the Rabat Diamond League, where again, we do have Shericka Jackson essentially running her first 100 meter race of the season. And then she's going to be going up against a decent field for the most part. I'll talk about the other names in a moment. Now, Shericka has already run a ton of races throughout 2025. She's run 60 meters early in the year. She ran a 200 at the Xiamen Diamond League, where she finished second place to Anavia Battle, and Shericka did run 22.7. She also ran at the World Relays, where herself, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price, Natasha Morrison, the Clayton twins, they were able to get third place at the World Relays behind Great Britain and Spain in the 4x1. But here, Shericka is now going to be racing her first 100. And what I find interesting about this is right before the Xiamen Diamond League at the press conference, Shericka actually communicated that she's primarily going to be focusing in on the 200, and she's going to make a determination on if she'll actually double at this year's World Championships, depending on how the season progresses. Now, remember, she's the 2023 World Champion in the 200, and she also is the World Champion from 2022, and both those years she ran 21.41 in Budapest, 21.45 in Eugene, making her the number 2 athlete all time. But on top of that, in both of those World Championship years, she also got the silver medal in the 100. So for the most part, she's always been known as a double threat, going back to 2021 when she got a bronze medal in the 100 at those Olympic Games. But last year, she unfortunately got injured in the season and had to pull out of both the 100 and the 200 at the Olympic Games. So now entering 2025, she's of course treating this year with a little bit more care, taking care of her body to make sure that she's remaining healthy and she can go to the World Championships to defend her 200 meter title. Now, she does want to also run the 100, but if she's not healthy enough, if she's not fit enough, then that's going to determine whether or not she does focus in on that. And if she does choose to run the 100, that means that she'll have to compete at the Jamaican trials coming up at the end of June, as opposed to just focusing in on September, where she has the wild card in the 200. So a race like this here coming up at the end of May, this might be one of the indicators on whether or not she actually does go to the Jamaican trials at the next month at the end of June and contest the 100 to potentially qualify for the World Championship team. Now, it's not a foregone conclusion that Shericka Jackson is going to win this race. You have a few other athletes, not massively top names, but some athletes who have been running pretty well throughout the season. You're looking at someone like Jason Sears, who's run at the Grand Slam track both in Kingston and Miami and has competed against some of the top women in the world. You have someone like Cambria Sturgis, who's coming off a 10.98 season's best, her fastest time and first time under 11 seconds since about 2022. Celera Barnes, who's the USA indoor champion in the 60 and has already run 11.01 seconds. Even someone like Zoe Hobbs, who's not, one of the faster athletes on the circuit, but is always in the mix and always in the conversation. Even Brie Rizzo, who actually just took down TT Terry and Shakira Richardson out at the Tokyo Seiko Golden Grand Prix. So this field, not necessarily as fast on time, but you do have some women who could actually surprise Shericka Jackson here. Now, how I think this will play out is probably we'll see someone run, I think sub 11 in some capacity, and then we'll probably see a bunch of other women run 11 seconds. Very similar to the Doha Diamond League, where Tia Clayton ran, 10.92, and then everyone else kind of ran 11.0. I don't know if those times exactly are going to match up, but I do think that might be how this race actually goes down. Now, I'm not sure if Shericka will actually get the win. I wouldn't be surprised to see her either win the race or go all the way down as low as 4th place or 5th place. But I think that if she wins the race, or if she finishes 2nd or 3rd place with a relatively good time and good performance, I think that might give her an indication that she probably will run the 100 at the Jamaican trials. But on the flip side, if she doesn't put down a performance that will indicate her in some really good form, then I think she'll probably skip out on the 100 at the Jamaican trials and then just focus on the 200. Maybe she runs, one more race between now and trials, but I do think that's how things will play out for Shericka. This is just my assumption based on her, her communicating that she'll make a determination on if she'll actually double based on how things go in the season. So let's see how Shericka Jackson in the 100 does play out here. The other thing I do want to talk about is the men's 100 and the men's 200, where here the 100 is very, very stacked. Akani Simbine going up against Letsile Tebogo, against Fred Kerley. You have Brandon Hicklin, Kyrie King, Ferdinand Omanyala. This is a pretty stacked field. And I mean, by far, Akani Simbine is the favorite when we're looking at the 100 here. He, of course, is undefeated in the 100 meters. Check out the full video that I did kind of breaking down Akani's, career, of course, and also his prospects leading into the 2025 Worlds. I'm excited to see, how Akani continues to progress, but I do think that this race will be his first major competition that he's going to have. Yes, he's had to, race Kashane Thompson. He's had to race Letsile a couple times, right? He's had to race, Christian Coleman, a couple top guys, but I think this is going to be a big, big race for him because Fred Kerley, even though he's been through a lot of different things in 2025, I think that he's really in some great form. He's run 9.98 seconds recently out in California, where he ran 3 consecutive sub 10 performances. 2 of them were windy, but one of them was a 9.8, windy performance. I think that he's in some great form, and Fred Kerley does not like to lose, especially as the season gets going. And Fred Kerley actually won this competition in Rabat back in 2023. So I don't know. This is a race. He ran it in, I think, 9.94 seconds. So this might be a competition that Fred Kerley wants to win. Now, I'm picking Akani Simbine to actually take the win here, but I think Fred Kerley is probably the top competition for Akani Simbine here. Now, let's be clear. You do have Letsile Tebogo, who's coming off a win at the Doha Diamond League in the 200, but he, I think, is still ramping up his season. He knows for 100% fact that he is going to be doubling at the World Championships, and he doesn't have to worry about a trials. Compared to some of the other guys, Akani Simbine, he's not doubling. Ferdinand Omanyala, he's not doubling. Fred Kerley and Kyrie King, they have to compete at their USA trials. So Letsile Tebogo is the only guy in this field who I think is on a different kind of schedule in a sense relative to some of the other guys, and a different, landscape on how he's approaching the season, considering that he's doubling. So I think that Akani Fred is probably going to be the big race here, but don't be surprised if Letsile, really does show up. Don't be surprised, if someone like Kyrie King, really shows up. And shout out to Brandon Hicklin, 9.93, Emmanuel SMA, he's always in the mix. Ferdinand Omanyala, right? These guys are always in the mix, but Akani Fred, that's kind of my top 2 that I'm looking at here. But we have a couple of these guys who are doubling back in the 200. That goes for Fred Kerley and Kyrie King and Letsile Tebogo. We're going to see them back in the 200 with Letsile Tebogo actually coming back again from Doha. He actually beat out Courtney Lindsay, who's back here as well. Letsile ran 20.10. Courtney Lindsay ran 20.11. So this was a close race in Doha, but they're going to have that competition from Fred Kerley. They're going to have competition from Kyrie King, Joe Fahnbulleh, who's super consistent, right? Wade Van Niekerk is in that field, right? Wade Van Niekerk is someone not to sleep on. Now, I don't know if he's going to be in the mix, but he's always in the conversation. Benjamin Richardson. But who I'm looking at to really compete amongst, all these guys is Robert Gregory. Robert Gregory just ran 20.24 seconds at the Tokyo Seiko Golden Grand Prix. He ran it into a headwind of negative 2.0 meters per second, just edged out Andre DeGrasse to get that win. Robert Gregory, he is one of the top competitors that I think we should really look out for, as 2025 does progress. This 19.89 personal best that he ran came in 2023 at the USA Championships, where he finished behind Ariane Knighton, Kenny B, Fred Kerley, Courtney Lindsay, to finish just 5th place at those trials. That was a big race, and Robert Gregory, he's getting into things, right? Just finishing the NCAA last year. I like where Robert Gregory is at, but if I was to pick someone in this field, I'm looking at Letsile Tebogo, right? He just almost lost to Courtney Lindsay, but he looked over to the side. It was like all fun and games. Letsile is probably the guy in this 200, but again, don't sleep on Courtney, don't sleep on Robert, and don't sleep on Fred Kerley and Kyrie King. This field is stacked. This field is very much stacked. But let's move over and talk about the women's 400 meter hurdles, because here is where we're going to see Femke Bol actually opening up her 2025 outdoor season. Now, we did see her run indoors at the European Indoor Championships, where she ran the mixed 4x4 for the Netherlands. Of course, that was in her home country of the Netherlands, so she wanted to compete there. But this is the first year that she skipped out on an indoor season. Every single year of her career, she's always run indoors, but I think due to this being a slightly longer season, she wanted to make sure she can lock down her training and get prepared to defend her gold medal at the World Championships this year. Remember, 2023, Femke Bol won the gold medal when Sydney McLaughlin-Roney chose to focus on the 400, but unfortunately got injured that year. So Femke Bol got the gold medal. She's the defending champion, but in addition to the longer season, I think coming off the Paris Olympics last year where she got the bronze medal, and I think the consensus was she was a quote-unquote lock for the silver medal, right? So she slightly underperformed. Shout out to Anna Cockrell, not to like take anything away, but on paper it was like Femke Bol, was right behind Sadie McLaughlin-Roni. So I think she's kind of like regrouping and, refocusing off of that performance, knowing that there's a long season. So now she's starting off her season outdoors, in the 400 meter hurdles here in Rabat. Of course, I am clearly going to pick her for the win. She is one of the, if not the most consistent athlete on the Diamond League circuit year in, year out. So, we'll see her open up. No expectations in terms of time. I can't even predict what time she'll run, but you do have some other women in the field like a Rochelle Clayton. She's coming back from, I think, injury at the Kingston Grand Slam track meet. She's going to be going back to Philly. So huge shout out to Rochelle Clayton. Ayumide is going to be here. She's going to be in Grand Slam. You have Anjanette Knight. She actually has been killing it in Grand Slam, especially in Miami. She did really well. Cassandra Tate, you have a couple other women in the field. So Femke Bol is, of course, the highlight here. We'll see how she does open up her 2025 season. Now, just to highlight a few other races that we'll see, men's 400, you're going to see Bryce Deadman, Johnny Blockberger, Quincy Hall, Chris Morales-Williams, Bapu Ndori, Ja'Cory Patterson, Leongo Scotch, right? This is a pretty, and Zakiti Nene, this is a pretty stacked field. Let's be clear, this is stacked. Now, Quincy Hall is the Olympic champion from last year. He's already started off his season with 45.99. On paper, that might not look great, but last year he got progressively better and better, and he actually started off around that performance from what I remember. So Quincy Hall, I think he'll be good as we kind of progress, as long as he's healthy. Ja'Cory Patterson just dropped that 43.98 to get second place overall at the Grand Slam track meet in Miami. He is on one right now. He is on one. But Bapu Ndori, he's been killing it. Won the Diamond League, I think in Shanghai. He won that Diamond League in the 400. Bryce Deadman, he's really been stepping things up. Chris Morales-Williams, we gonna see how he starts this season going. So there's a lot of Zakiti Nene. Don't sleep on him. He went crazy at the World Relays on the 4x4. So don't sleep on any of these guys in the 400. Excited to see how this does play out. I'm looking at Bapu Ndori maybe as the guy to look out for, but Ja'Cory Patterson, he's gonna be one to not sleep on. Now, a few other competitions. We do have the women's 100 meter hurdles, not a stacked field, but I'm eyeing Tobi Amusan, who's going to be competing here. And then I'm also looking at Ditaji Kambunji, as well as Pia Skrzydłowska. Apologies for the pronunciation, working at it here. They, of course, are the headliners here. All of them have, Tobi Amusan is the world record holder. Ditaji Kambunji is the European indoor champion and the silver medalist from World Indoors. Pia Skrzydłowska, she just missed a medal, I think, at the World Indoor Champ. So this is going to be a very competitive field. I'm looking to see Ditaji as she's just opening up her 2025 season, and she's going to be in Grand Slam track next week in Philly. So we'll see how that does kind of play out. And shout out to Nadine Visser. You can never forget about Nadine Visser. She's super consistent, super consistent. So looking forward to seeing this women's 100 meter hurdles field. Finally, always want to give a shout out to the men's high jump, where a stacked field across the board. Romain Beckford, he has been killing it through 2025. Javon Harrison, he's coming, he's, made the Olympics last year, didn't do as well, but he's looking to, really step things back up. Hamish Kerr, right? The Olympic champion in the high jump. Shelby McEwen, Olympic silver medalist. Raymond Richards, right? Just like Romain Beckford, he's been super consistent, super consistent. And then, always the veteran Donald Thomas, right? You have Vernon Turner. So a lot of guys who are really in the mix. And actually, to be clear, Romain Beckford hasn't necessarily been killing it in 2025, but last year he did really well coming off the NCAA. But I'm excited to see this men's high jump and just the overall Rabat Diamond League. Now, this is, again, one of the lower profile Diamond Leagues that does, is contested on the season, but I think it's still going to be some high quality performances across the board. So let me know what you think about some of the athletes competing here, whether it's Shericka Jackson. Do you have expectations on what she might run in the 100, or what might give an indication on if she should actually double in 2025? What about Letzila Tebogo and Fred Kerley actually doing the 100-200 double here? Are they maybe treating it as a workout, or do you think they're really going to go hard for the races here? And then even in the men's 400, right? What are we going to see from a Quincy Hall, from Ja'Cory Patterson again, from Zakiti Nene, Bapu Ndori, right? That entire field across the board. Femke Bol making her season's opener, going to be exciting, but let me know what you think. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Always do appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching.